This isn't the first time you've really imbued London into a romantic narrative. I know it's a bit of a cliche sometimes to say it, but I mean, the setting, particularly in this genre, can be such a huge character, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes quite hard when your film's set in such a sort of lush and beautiful location, because you can very quickly fall into sort of, I guess, sort of cliches in a way, over romantic cliches. But I know. I grew up in Hampstead, so I know Hampstead pretty well, and I know the Heath pretty well, and my kids actually enjoy it to this day. They do a running club on the Heath. So I felt like I could bring, hopefully, obviously there's some iconic bits of the Heath that we couldn't not shoot in, like Parliament Hill and I guess Ken Wood. But hopefully I've got some detail in there that is quite special.
And do you think, can you see the appeal to this lifestyle that Harry and now obviously Donald lives in this? And obviously it's not necessarily as feasible sometimes, but can you see why someone might choose to live like that?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, I think the reality is always less, fantastic than the dream. You know, you've got to drink, you've got to eat, you've got to go to the loo. It's not all happy camping. So I think it takes a particular sort to sort of choose to go off grid like this. But I think there's a part of everyone who can relate to this sort of this ideal idea of just getting rid of all your kind of material possessions, and just kind of trying to be in the moment and find some peace. I mean, it's interesting that he did it in London rather than, in the middle of, I don't know, the Brecon Beacons or something. But I think that's part of the reality, is you still need to sort of, I think by being in London, he could still interact with he could do odd jobs for people and things and sort of survive.
And is there a kind of added pressure that comes with depicting the real life story of someone as opposed to a fictional account?
Yeah, well, I really want to be clear that this is not a sort of bio of the real Harry Hallows. The starting point was the court case, the true court case of this chap who built this shack. They tried to get him off, and he went to court, and he won the right to remain, sort of sitting tenancy rights, and that was the starting point. And because the Diane Keaton character is completely sort of fictitious, and so I think it's quite important. I think in the movie we say inspired by a way of life, and I think that's what I want to sort of people to sort of take away, rather than this was his the real Harry Hallows story. So it is a big sorry to actually answer your question. I'm quite conscious of the responsibility, and I've been quite, he's someone who wants to be left alone, and so I don't want to sort of suddenly make a movie where, and so we got his blessing, but what was clear was he didn't want to be involved in the filmmaking at all, in any way, and so the best I could do was to leave him alone. And unfortunately, when just before we started filming, he actually died. So, I hope, again, the film is sort of celebrates his way of life.
Does it in some way give you the best of both worlds when you've got because obviously it's like you said, it's inspired by as opposed to being a biopic, but that gives you a sort of certain focus, but also a freedom to implement your own ideas into proceedings.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many forces at play. This is a commercial movie that has to, on one level, it's a sort of romantic comedy on one level. So there's so many things at play, and part of that is, yes, trying to get a bit of my sort of viewpoint in there. But you're sort of battling so many different sort of, I guess, interests that I hope, what's come out, that it has some worth. I think it does, a little bit.
When you hire someone like Diane Keaton for a role, I mean, the reason we as viewers adore Diane Keaton is because her personality shines through so much in every part. I mean, I realised her name is Diane Hall, which is suggested that Annie Hall is very much there's a real parallel there, of course. So, I mean, do you let her do her own thing to some extent because you know that it's her personality, which is really what we're after? So does that transcend the character sometimes?
Definitely, and I'd be an idiot if I was like, right, we're gonna, I want us to forget that she's Diane Keaton. I knew from the get-go, especially this sort of genre of movie, we were never going to lose the Diane, and we didn't want to. Like you said, it's a balancing act, juggling act between enjoying Diane Keaton in London and all that she is an icon, but at the same time taking on a story that we believe she could be that person. And very quickly things like, because she's known for her sort of wardrobe and her style, I made a decision, I'm not going to sort of, okay, Diane, you have to wear this, and she very much had very strong opinions about what she was going to wear, and I kind of went with that. And things like the beret, the classic Diane Keaton beret, I said, okay, well we're going to have that, but we're going to try and work it into the story. So there's a scene where she sees this beret and it's very expensive and she's got money troubles at the moment, and then later on she throws caution to the wind and buys this beret, and then suddenly we see the classic Diane Keaton image of the beret. So I was sort of like, okay, we're going to have our cake and eat it, basically. And hopefully I earn it.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Okay, cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!